Up bright and early before the sun.
One up front, 3 in the middle, or one up front, 2 in the middle,
I'll get in
one
front.
far back. Whatever you guys.
I'll put him in the back. No, I'm just kidding. They got some rams on the road here.
Nevada state animal. Welcome to the better side of Las Vegas. Yeah, these guys are big. That's as big as these guys get right here. The youngest one here is probably 5, and that's this guy over here to the right. My name is Adam Bautz, and I'm owner of Outdoor Travel Tours, and I specialize in showing people the better side of Las Vegas. And I'd like to welcome you to Nevada's first and largest state park, Valley of Fire. This was commissioned as a state park in 1935 and is 47,000 acres. There's loads of historical significance pertaining to this place. Going back 500 million years ago, this was all underwater. We're known as the Great Basin. Most of Nevada during that time was underwater. And as much as we want to visualize fish swimming around the sandstone formations, that wouldn't have been happening because the sandstone wouldn't have been here when this was underwater. Eventually that sea dried up, most likely leaving a lot of sand behind. Winds occurred, causing that sand to build up, making sand dunes. And then shifting Earth's crust, tectonic plates, there's a major fault line to the right in the Muddy Mountains, caused these sand dunes to be buried under a lot of sediment. And then a process called lithification would have occurred. Compaction over a long period of time would have compacted the sand dunes into sandstone. And that's what Valley of Fire is known for. The sandstone takes on the color of the main mineral composition. This sandstone has a deep red or orange color because of the high iron content. And supposedly, the first person to name this place Valley of Fire was a AAA agent traveling through the valley in 1928. As he looked behind him, he thought the valley was on fire from far away. During sunset, with that glow with the sun, compare that with the orange sandstone. The construction that we just went past, they're building a new visitor center, and it should be completed in the fall. And secrets out, Valley of Fire is amazing. This is a state park that will give any national park a run for its money, and we're having to kind of keep up with the ever-growing popularity of this place. Yeah, and that's just the difference of what the sun does. You know, the sun's hitting that side of the rock, and right now it's not hitting this side. Oh, another ram up on the side of the sandstone. See him silhouetting right there? It's a mature female up to the left. It actually might be a young male. See his horns?
Oh, yeah, right there. Oh, okay. Oh, I see.
So we're going from Mars to Saturn now. Most of Valley of Fire, it's known for its red sandstone, but halfway through the park, it changes color. And to the left up here, it's as if somebody stopped painting. They ran out of the red paint, perhaps. We got a distinct change in mineral composition. That's what's dictating the color of the sandstone. We go from a lot of iron to a lot of silica. A geologist on my tour explained to me this most likely is an ancient water line. Before the sandstone was pushed out of the ground about 140 million years ago, it was under the ground where there was a water table. And when there's water on top of sandstone for a long period of time, it changes the mineral composition. So once we crest this hill up here, we get a really good idea of how big this park is. Nevada's largest state park. So I may go to the same place every day, but I don't hike the same hike every day. And the area that I'm bringing you right now, this is an area that's going to be closed soon. So I want to get it in while I can, you know.
Nice.
And we got a chance of seeing, I think, a desert tortoise. I tracked one a couple days ago out here, so, you know, we might. Okay, snacks and backpacks are right there.
What a beautiful place.
Drinks. Like I said, I think 3 to 4 drinks per person. I've been told my snacks are too healthy, so I started bringing chips. Help yourself. I've got sunscreen if anybody needs to borrow any. 8 legs, man. That's the tarantula. And that's a small one, actually. Now, don't worry. They do most of their movement at night. And he's in there. There's over like 200 species of tarantulas in the world. These Mojave Desert tarantulas, their bite would be similar to a bee sting. And statistically, the people that get bit by tarantulas and snakes are males from the ages of 15 to 25 years old, and it happens around their hands because they're messing with it. There's a reason why females live longer than males in most every species. This is the cat claw acacia, and it's in the mesquite family. Us hikers know it as the wait a minute bush because if we hike into it, it'll grab onto us and you'll say wait a minute because you'll be stuck in it. So you got to back up to get out of it. Over time, when the water's stuck in that crack, it pulls minerals out, including calcite or calcium carbonate. And now what used to be the weakest part of the sandstone is now the strongest part of the sandstone. And because calcite is more dense than the sandstone around it, the erosion happens at a slower pace. So the top of this used to be level with next to it here. And some of these calcite fins, which is what they're called, can stand this much taller than the ground next to it. So imagine how long it takes for those to form. And more of a reason that we tread lightly out here and we do our best not to break them. And this is a better example of the calcite fins. Maybe the indigenous people that left the petroglyphs, they were inspired when they saw their own shadows. And then they were like, hey, let's draw this symbol to make it more permanent, you know? Who knows?
That's a cool observation. You know, that's probably, there is something to that.
Let's all make our own petroglyph pose, and I'll get a photo for you guys. All right. This is globe mallow, specifically known as apricot globe mallow. Beautiful. Very quiet. It's a very still environment. You can't find that on Las Vegas Boulevard.
No.
Only we could bottle that up and sell it and be a millionaire. Mineral composition. Purple's derived from manganese. That's on the test. The striations.
Really nice example of a calcite fin here, a great big one. Those fins are like 3.5 feet tall right there.
Valley of Fire has only one natural water source, and that water source is dependent on rainfall. So there are certain times of the year, long months, where you won't find any water out here. We get most of our rainfall during the winter, and when we have rainstorms out here, it flows to the low area and it collects in
And these tanks, or a tanaha, a tank or a tanaha is a natural basin within the sandstone that will collect the rainwater and hold it until it evaporates. Some of these tanks can hold water for up to 2.5 months without any additional rainwater. It's not always the size of the tank that will dictate how long it will last for. It's mainly the location and how much sun is directly impacting the surface of it, which will dictate the evaporation rate.
Cool.
Just made all that stuff up.
I'll cut that part out.
Beautiful.
How you doing back there?
Oh, great.
We're in the shade now. Hi.
Actually pretty good. That's hot.
So the cool thing about doing a tour with Adam is he takes a lot of photos and videos along the way, and then he's just going to post them, send us a link for free, and I'll incorporate that in the video as it's going along. You'll see shots from him. Not a lot of these tour guides do that, so that's kind of cool.
So a bighorn laid down, probably spent the night right here. Nice and cozy spot.
Yeah, sheltered
I don't
area.
blame them. I take naps out here sometimes. Can you imagine being a hiker finding me? I'd wake up, pretend I don't know what year it is. I didn't have a beard when I went to sleep. Our archaeological record books will tell us that our petroglyphs that are found in Valley of Fire are no more than 4,000 years old, but these are just educated guesses. And but this is a sign and it's evidence of people living here. And people lived here for thousands of years, potentially tens of thousands of years, and they lived with the land, and they migrated, and they hunted, and they resourced this land. And a big reason why they would migrate into Valley of Fire was to take advantage of the abundance of wildlife. So a lot of the evidence that they leave behind is evidence of them hunting. Now, over across the valley there's going to be a little bit of an overhang, and during the hottest time of the day, later on, that's going to be in the shade. So shade was very important for these people, as it is for us too. Now, as I bring you to that site, we're going to see evidence of tool making, of a process called napping, where they pick up a rock or a bone that's more dense in the material that they're going to shape to be a projectile point or a knife. And there's evidence of pottery. And it's amazing how they were able to survive off this land for thousands of years, and this is all they left behind were pieces of rocks and pieces of pottery, which is clay. So follow me, I'll bring you to the site. It's important that the things we find out here remain out here. What makes these things more special than the actual object is the story, the context that is tethered to these objects. And we don't have that story if these things are taken from this location. So the first stuff I'm going to pass around, some of this could be an actual tool, especially this guy here. Some of them could be thumb scrapers, but it could just be the remnants of what's left behind after making stone tools. This one looks like it's got a lot of work done to it. Each kind of indent is a piece of rock that the individual that was making it was able to break off. So feel free to pass those around, but get an idea of the feel for them, how smooth and how transparent some of the pieces are too. Now this is all mostly chert. I think you got some quartz in there too, but chert along with obsidian. So this can fit comfortably like this, and you could cut or do something else with it. So that's a tool.
Scrape.
But more of an obvious tool. I found this piece the day that I found this site. For a projectile point is an arrowhead, but they're not all arrowheads. The most primitive way to hunt with a projectile point is by way of spear. And what helped bridge the gap of technology from hunting with spear to bow and arrow would be the atlatl.
Nice shady valley coming up here. Be able to get out of this sun.
Camping is allowed in Valley of Fire, but only designated camping areas. There's like 50 campsites in all.
You have to book it, or do you have?
Yeah. It used to be first come, first serve, but now there's a reservation system. You can book 8 months out. Not really. I mean, we lose a little bit of attraction, but we can still like walk across that and not like slip. But what happens is a lot of the sandstone absorbs a lot of the rainwater, so it loses its structural integrity and it becomes much more softer. Going to the left. So this is where you can tell that lightning struck here. This is part of that tree right here. This is the cat claw. And you can imagine the lightning hit it and it burned it from the inside out. It really split. Be careful when we go down the loose stuff. Let's go sidestep approach. Like we're trying to help with gain more control. Find the ant. Be careful. Don't step over the ant though. Here, and then up onto these like stairs. I'm here to give you a hand if you need it. Look at you.
Yeah, I don't like this one. Oh, see, you had to.
I can come down there and help you.
You had to follow his I steps just don't and know
Oh,
if my I go steps. here or here.
So you're gonna go from there to there. See that little foot spot right
Okay,
there?
like
Yep.
that?
And then onto this one. Yep. And then off to here. Nice shot. Look at that colorful rock. Oh, there it is. Huh. That's the P rock. Thorns to the left. And sidestep approach, and we're going down loose stuff.
What'd you nickname this? Kneecap arch?
Kneecap arch, man.
Isn't that cool?
It's a memorial arch for all those achy.
I don't know what like what course you guys were on for that one. You said you were at that other location.
Now we're going through slot canyons.
One day.
The slot canyons are very different than the slot machines. We're all winners here.
If you make it out alive, you're a winner.
Well, I mean, art. No, but like
Yeah, and actually, you know, one day I had these 3 young ladies on my tour, and we're in a different area. I see a track like this, but then there's another element, and they're wider apart, so a bigger spider. There's this element down the middle of it. So that's like what a lizard makes when it drags its tail. So I told the ladies, I don't know what's making this, and I looked up and I saw it. It was a tarantula about that big, and it was eating a lizard. And as it was consuming the lizard, it was dragging the tail. And when we encountered it, the lizard was already missing its head and its front legs, and it was like the tightest part of the canyon. I had to like bring the ladies around it, and it wasn't moving when we encountered it. And it wasn't until that last girl stepped over it started moving, and I can still hear her scream every time I go in that canyon.
Tracks in there. There's a web in there.
Energy is derived from the natural etc. found in.
we're not. You know what I mean? Like it's the.
That's a good photo right
The
there.
roughness of it that makes it so like easy to navigate, right?
It gives you that traction. You know, back home everything's slippery probably.
Yeah. No, you would just like slide down that.
So you can either scoot forward or you can dangle your left leg down to here to get like the traction.
Down here.
Yep.
I mean, it's not a slide.
That is a Great Basin whiptail lizard eating a orbed weaver spider. All back to earth science, my friends. Going up into here is because you can see where they're pooping, and they would definitely probably sit there and maybe hunt from that spot. But my assumption is that these maybe first timers, as far as young hawks, maybe built their first nest ever and they mated for the first time and they had chicks for the first time. But because it's their first time, potentially, they didn't know to make their nest higher. So when they make it lower, it's more susceptible for predators to come into the nest and potentially kill their chicks. And I believe that's what happened here. We've got a hawk wing here. We've got another hawk wing right here. And it's sad, but that's life out here.
Well, the fox didn't think it was sad.
Well, right, and then nothing goes to waste. And there's one of their skulls.
Cool.
But it's a learning experience. You can see the beak and understand how they're predators. And then the other skull.
Yeah.
It's right there, and it's got all its
Still got
feathers still
feathers
on
on
its
it.
head still too. So, if these are chicks, which I really think they are, it's a sad way to go. They didn't have the opportunity to live their life, but again, that's part of life out here. I heard it very differently.
Yeah, I know, but the way you said it was different. It's fine if you don't do it. Yeah, it's everything. Yeah.
Right up the crack to the left. Like, okay, there it goes. It's gonna fly in. Eat its shit.
A raven nest way in the rocks in there.
So when I find things like artifacts, stone tools in washes, I keep them in. There's a raven. I keep them in the immediate area, but I pull them out of the wash and I hide them. I relocate them so I can show people along my tours about the history of this place, but also I potentially save it from being broken even more. Listen to its wings. So these are found in the washes, and going off of typology, there could be 1,000 years in between the making of this one and this one. Okay, so this is a horned lizard, also known as a horned toad. A lot of people will say horny toad. These things are found in the southwest of the United States, but also found in like Texas area. They rely really heavily on their camouflage. So when a predator is nearby, instead of scurrying off and running away from them, they're going to stay still and they're going to flatten out. And those little horns will help out to where if and when a predator tries to swallow them, he'll flatten them out and widen out, and it'll make it impossible almost to swallow. Another defense mechanism that some of these creatures will do is squirt blood out of their eyes, and it can reach sometimes between 3 and 5 feet away. I've only read about that and never seen that happen. And this is about as big as they get here. use as their canvas. They'd pick up a rock that's more dense than the sandstone, probably a chunk of limestone. They'd peck, chisel, or scratch through that black, exposing the red or orange from behind, helping us still see them today. And they're right up here. 1,000 years old. These are educated guesses, and I think these timelines are changing all the time. But some things are for sure. Somebody, a long time ago, spent a lot of time here. And they have some of their original land back. And the heart of their land is Canyon de Chelly National Monument. And it's kind of like a mini Grand Canyon. And you look down in this canyon, and there's a modern home. Nothing special but 4 90-degree corners. And it's a Navajo family living there. And in the backyard of that house is a canyon wall that is like 500 feet tall. In the middle of that canyon wall is a cliff dwelling where people lived 900 to 1100 years ago. That's their relatives. They've been here for thousands and thousands of years. So it's incredible to think about the lineage and the importance and the meaning potentially. When I was road tripping through the Navajo land, I talked to a Navajo woman and I was asking her about petroglyphs, and she told me that culturally in her tribe, she's not allowed to go to the petroglyph panels. They're only for the shaman, the medicine man, the holy man. So, you know.
And you said these are minimum 4,000 because that's what the park says, but could be much older.
Yeah, I believe so. You know, some of them are zoomorphic figures, representing animals. Maybe that's a bird, definitely a bighorn sheep up there. And then we have maybe anthropomorphic figures, representations of people.